after all this time. Go ahead. Who are we talking to now, Bethany?
Hans.
Keep going.
I've seen this movie before. Hans von Spakovsky.
Close. Hans von Spakovsky is the senior legal fellow at Advancing American Freedom, and of course he's forgotten more about election law than anyone in this town will ever know. Hans, good morning. Thanks for joining us. How do you grade Bethany's effort there?
Yeah.
Bethany, you did really well, and I'm sorry that Larry is giving you such a hard time about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
They'd always taking sides against me. All right, Hans. By the way, Hans used to be a county election official down in Fulton County, so you are the perfect expert to talk about this stuff. What happened yesterday with the FBI in Fulton County?
Well, it was very interesting. The FBI executed a search warrant, and they went to this brand new election hub and operations center that apparently the county built in Union City, which is a small town outside of the downtown Atlanta area. And, they weren't revealing what they were looking for, but apparently a law enforcement official anonymously said that they're looking for ballot boxes and computer equipment from the 2020 election. And I suspect that's about all we know about it. But I suspect all of this was prompted by the fact that you'll recall, Larry, that at the beginning of December, there was big news because the lawyer for the Fulton County Election Board admitted at a hearing being held by the state election board that what they call the tabulator tapes documenting 315,000 early votes out of the electronic machines had not been actually signed and verified by election officials. And that caused a huge hubbub because that's a violation of state law, and that's probably what prompted this.
All right, and under typical protocols for securing ballots and securing elections, two questions. First of all, under typical protocols, would those ballots that you just referred to that were admittedly not, passed through the appropriate signature verification, would those have been counted as valid votes?
Yeah. And what we're talking about here is, remember, Georgia is one of these states that switched to all electronic voting machines. So what they do at the end of the night when the polling place is closed is they go to the back of the machine, push a button, and this receipt prints out that says, here's how many people voted on this machine, and here are the votes that they cast. And that's supposed to be witnessed by the poll manager and two other witnesses who then sign that receipt, because that's the official tabulation of, like I said, how many people voted and the votes they cast. And apparently that wasn't done for 130 machines, 315,000 votes. Now, look, it doesn't mean that those votes weren't valid that were cast on those machines, but it means we don't have a valid chain of custody.
That's what I was getting at.
On them.
Right.
Yeah. No,
so that's what I was getting at, because the whole purpose of having these rules, and then my second question, follow-up question, and then I'll hand it off to Bethany, is under normal circumstances, would there be anything untoward about wanting to look at whatever the FBI is looking for? There's a reason why we have certain levels of transparency, custody, and accountability, so that if there is ever any question, you can go back and do it, right? So is there anything out of line about wanting to look at these things and wanting to, or for that matter, for the federal government to seize control of this, as it appears the FBI is doing through this subpoena?
No, it isn't, because one, they've admitted the mistake, and two, what I haven't seen mentioned really in any of the media reports is, remember, there's a federal law, part of the Voting Rights Act, has been in law for decades, that in fact says that election officials have to preserve all ballots and election materials from federal elections, and that means that the federal government has the ability to go in and look at them to see if any federal laws have been violated. So everybody's react to this as if this is some kind of big deal, and somehow the administration's doing something they shouldn't be doing. But no, federal law covers this.
Yeah.
So Georgia has become a surprising, in my opinion, swing state. How much of that swing is because of issues like this? Is this, all of this voter questions, is this leading to certain votes being cast in certain places that are tipping the scales?
Well, there may be some of that, but frankly, I think what's actually happening is the demographic changes. The Hispanic population in the state has grown markedly over the last 20 years, and while they're not all voting 100% Democrat like so many black residents of the state do, that is increasing Democrat. Plus, look, Atlanta in particular has the problem of all these can I say Yankees moving in from other states who are, look, they're fleeing high tax, high regulatory states like California and Maryland, and they go to Atlanta, but then what do? They don't change their voting patterns.
Right, of course.
So what do you think is the net result of this? I'm sure you saw the images. DNI Tulsi Gabbard was down there, which I guess it does involve the FBI, so that understand she does sort of oversee the FBI as sort of the clearinghouse as the director of national intelligence. But what do you think her role is here, and what do you think ultimately is going to come of this?
Well, frankly, I was surprised to see her there in what should be a pretty straightforward domestic law enforcement investigation. But look, I hate to be cynical, but I don't think people should expect a whole lot to come out of this. How can they prove? The only way to prove that 315,000 votes or some portion of them were invalid would be what? To go find all those voters and interview them and ask them, how did you vote? That isn't going to happen. If they, that's just not going to happen.
Well, hold on. They can prove that votes that were counted shouldn't have been counted by law, right? That can be proved.
Well, yeah, but that, like I said, the fact that they made, look, an important clerical error, again, doesn't mean that a particular tape was an invalid total of the votes cast on a machine. So I'm not quite sure what they're looking for, what they want to prove. If they really want to show that something happened in the 2020 election that shouldn't, what they need to do is get hold of the county's voter registration list, which they, I think a month ago, filed suit for. Check the list and find and look at who voted, and then see, were any of those people dead? Were any of those people aliens? Were any of them from out of state?
Which by the way, is something they should do anyway, shouldn't they, before the votes are counted? Yeah. All right, Hans, we'll leave it there. But thanks for lending your expertise to this, and we'll keep watching it. If anything, this should send a signal to other states, especially going into this election, that people are watching now.